hour, depending on if we still have questions and things going on. So with the recent news, I do like Robin Lopez. I have him at about 35-40% of my lineups, somewhere around that in that range. Just sort of going through, the guys I really like. I actually think that if you want a sneaky play, maybe this is a matchup you could play Okiki if you wanted to get off of Lopez chalk. And both sides of that game are kind of interesting. I do have PJ Washington in some lineups. I do have Mason Plumlee in some lineups. I think I'm going to maybe focus those a little bit more towards Lopez. The guys who I'm, look, the most of this slate is going to come down to the later games for me. And look, there's going to be some pivoting available as well. So I know we're going to have information. It happens every day. If somebody ends up sitting for, say, Chicago, which has kind of a little bit of, I guess it's not a funny line, but, you think that without Clay and Dre, I know, they've been winning in general, but I do think that it's a little bit of a knockdown, and maybe there's a bull who rests, but I don't think so. I don't know. I'm sort of up in the air, but there's going to be some people, no matter what, who we're going to hear about after lock. It's just happened every single day, and I don't see today as being any different. Some off the board guys I like. Chris Paul, I think is getting overlooked, and I think it's a matchup where you could see him put up like a 50-plus game against Indiana. I actually like him better with Ayton back. People like to play him when Ayton's not there. I think he's actually a better play with Ayton there. You got that double-double upside. He's not he's not a great rebounder anyway. So, he had his career high the other day with 13, I think it was. But the guys who I'm prioritizing, Buddy Hield is the lower end of the priority. Harrison Barnes, tons of Christian Wood, tons of sorry, I'm trying to go through all my lineups. Cole Anthony, I've got 30%, 37% Darius Garland. I also really like DeJounte Murray. I have him more on FanDuel than I do on DK, just sort of the way the builds worked. I am going to play a Luka versus Ja kind of a lineup. I also like Triple J if Steven Adams does end up getting late ruled out, but as of right now, he's not on the injury report, so we're not going to assume that's going to happen. I do think Memphis tries to keep the streak going, and they're tough, man. I really, really am impressed by what this team's been able to do. I also have but mainly you're going to be stacking that late game and then adjusting to news. I do think that you're going to have fairly chalky guys. You can get a little different if you want to take a shot on Bagley or if they give Holmes minutes. I don't think I'm going to do the Holmes thing, but I'm kind of considering the Bagley thing as a pivot off of a little bit of the PJ Washington. But again, it's sort of play it and then hope for later. I do like Jason Tate a little bit. I prefer Wood. I prefer Porter Jr. I prefer Jalen Green and Wood. Porter Jr., it's weird because it feels like a tournament play, a cash game ownership. But again, we can always pivot later. Eric Gordon is medium play, but he's probably not going to make all of his shots again. So just don't go crazy with that one. And then there's always a blowout risk a little bit when it comes to these Rockets, even though they're only 5-point underdogs tonight. Some other things, Poole is in the starting lineup, which is obviously no surprise. I do like Poole and Wiggins a little bit as well. I don't think anybody's really talking that much about Wiggins, but I think he's a pretty solid play. I would rather personally play Poole, but he's going to be much higher owned. People are going to play Steph like crazy, and I think that's okay. But I don't think you have to. I'm not prioritizing Steph. I'm going more the Luka Ja route, and I'm really surprised that Memphis is only a 2-point favorite in this game. I think they should be. I don't know why they're not. I mean, I understand it's a back-to-back, but they should be like 10-point favorites, to be honest with you. They've won 11 in a row. Dallas just got housed by the Knicks the other night. I know they missed all their threes, but it just feels like a little bit like of a funny spread. But no one's going to play the Luka Ja thing. I'm absolutely going to be the one who does that. Pop in your questions, guys, now, because I want to start, getting to some stuff, and I want to finish my builds. So go ahead and put your questions in. I also like Dennis Schroeder. I'm just going to and Jason Tatum to run back with Embiid. I really like Embiid tonight, and I don't think you're going to see ownership on him. It's really not that difficult to play some Embiid with Christian Wood and the other centers we like as well, or if you could do the Lopez one, but I prefer the Wood thing with Embiid together, so you have some more switchability late. I do think center is a pretty good spot. If you're going to use Embiid, you want to try and play probably with another center, but I love nobody's going to play the Tatum Embiid lineup. I'm going to be happy to do it. I see that Schroeder is going to be about 10% owned. I'm going to be well above that. So that's sort of the general outlook of what I'm doing, but I'm not seeing any questions or any thoughts in the chat. So guys, say what you're doing if you like it, what you don't, any 1v1s, any questions, anything. Would love to. Jared Allen's a name I didn't actually think one time about today. So I actually think that's a reasonable option. I just think center is really strong, but I actually think he's fine. He's very reasonably priced. They're like basically as healthy as they get, not minus Sexton. So there's nothing, and it's a good matchup with San Antonio, but there's nothing special that stands out like crazy for me with him. But I do think you can get 45 out of him, and I think that's a pretty solid night. But I'm not playing any of him at all. But I do think he's reasonable, and I think he's actually probably more reasonable. When you play Jared Allen, you tend to want to play him more on FanDuel just because the block upside is what you're playing him for. So do that. The Raptors thing, I'm sort of questioning here because they do run their guys a million minutes. It's a good question because with the situation that they sort of have here, like I said, they're going to run out their guys for a bunch of minutes. It is one of the early games. They are big favorites. I guess I think I like the best Anunoby, and I actually did play him on FanDuel, but I didn't get to him on DK very much. But I think Anunoby could put up a ceiling type of game. And we still have Scotty Barnes as questionable, which we should know hopefully in the next 45 minutes or so before the lineups do lock. They're expecting Watanabe to start, by the way. But I would give a little bit of a boost to that. I'm trying to see who they start, and it depends on what happens with Barnes. I might even take some shots on like a Kem Birch to get off of the other chalk, but I don't think it's not like a priority for me. I think Anunoby is the best play of all of them just at this price. No, if Scotty Barnes sits, but Boucher maybe in play off the bench, I think it's too big of a slate to try to like make that. I don't know. Maybe it's not. Like there's an argument for he had a great game last time out. We really don't know what the minutes are ever going to be with him. But it does shorten up the rotation. So if Scotty Barnes is out, I would play some Boucher. As of right now, I'm not getting to much of him, but I don't know. I don't mind it. It just feels like to take him in the first game, to try and target these first games, usually a pretty terrible idea with the current state of the NBA. So I'm trying not to do as much of that. Toronto, I can't answer any more about Toronto until we hear whether Scotty Barnes is playing or not. Let's see. DeJounte still in play. Yeah, absolutely. DeJounte just put up 74 fantasy points. As long as Derek White's out, especially. But I do like DeJounte. I am finding myself with more the Luka Ja thing because I think you're going to get even lower ownership on those guys than you will on DeJounte. And DeJounte, I think is going to be fairly low owned as well. And if I don't have guys now, 10% I've got him at right now. I think he's a really good play. It's not a good matchup for him. They don't play fast. They're not that sloppy. And it's just not as good of a matchup. So I would say that this is, why wouldn't we play the guys like Luka? Luka in a game they got smashed, he still somehow played 36 minutes. I don't even know how. He was 8 for 23 from the field, 1 for 9 from 3. Look, he could have a monster game tonight at a really low assist rate because they couldn't make any threes. That could have easily been a triple-double, and Luka was 65 or 70 if they were making shots, including Luka. So that's what I'm looking at tonight in Memphis. I'm going to trust the spread a little bit, even though I think it's way under. It's one of my favorite bets of the night is I just ride the Grizzlies. I bet them every day. That's what I would do. Jeremy Lamb ruled out. I hear people talking earlier today about LeVert. I don't think anybody's really going to play him. I'm not going to play him. I think Miles Turner is going to get a little bit of ownership because of his price dropping down to 5,800. But there's nothing about this that screams like a Miles Turner game, and he's fine. He's the same Miles Turner as always in a worse matchup. Just because he's not 651 or 6 doesn't mean at 58 he should be like owned, and I think he will get a little bit of ownership because of that. Maybe a low owned play that I could get behind a little bit with no Brogdon would be I would consider Sabonis. I'm not getting to him much, but I'm just going to throw that out there. Keep firing in. Looks like there's some good questions here coming in. Just got in thoughts on DeAndre Hunter and Damian Lee. I think that it's Damian Lee. I literally didn't even think about Damian Lee today. The Warriors have like 12 guys they're going to play every night. So the guys you're looking at for the Warriors, you could play the Otto Porter revenge. If Toscano Anderson let me see. Actually, did they announce that? I think we did get the starting lineup. I don't have it in front of me. If Toscano Anderson starts, he's okay. Yeah, he's not starting. Porter is starting. So I don't like Toscano Anderson as much anymore. So let me get rid of him. On FanDuel, I like a Kongwu as a center. I'm just throwing out a few different things. I do think it's a decent spot for Otto Porter to take some shots there, because the Bulls, without they haven't been playing the same defense, and they have without Derek Jones and without what's his name now? Why can't I think of names right now? Caruso. They're not playing as good a defense when you get the Kobe White minutes. And everybody else sort of has taken a little bit of a step back defensively. So they're playing fast. I do think Otto Porter can get off some shots, and hopefully if he's hitting, you're gonna make some money with Otto Porter tonight. So I kind of like that. I don't know, like Damian Lee. I think Damian Lee is look, if it works out, I'll whatever it does. I have no interest in playing Damian Lee, except for that I get a little bit of a delay because the game doesn't start till 7:30. Damian Lee might put up one fantasy point tonight, like, or two. And he also could get hot and put up 24. But I don't think there's any logical explanation for why he would be a priority play. You still have Iguodala, Toscano Anderson, Bjelica, and Kuminga, who are all going to get minutes off the bench, along with the guys who play a million minutes, like Curry, Poole, Wiggins, Porter can play minutes, and obviously Looney. So that's where, the DeAndre Hunter thing feels very trappy to me. I'm doing a little bit of it, to be honest, but it feels like a trap. It doesn't feel good. He is I would rather have other value, but at least it buys me an extra hour. And I was going to play he and JTA in the same lineups together, but I'm not doing that anymore. Tim Hardaway Jr. is fine. Bane is fine. Triple J is fine. I'm not playing that much of any of those guys, but they're all fine. That's where I would rank them. I think you guys are really like reaching if you want to play. Let me just see real quick before I totally commit to this. I don't think you need to worry about this right now because the game doesn't start for a long time, but there's no real reason to try to play Sengun. I don't know why anybody would be doing that. Like his last games when he was playing, he played 6 minutes, 15 minutes. He did have 21 and then 20 before that. He's a very good point per minute guy. Sure, he can get there in this type of matchup. I guess on FanDuel you could consider him, but I don't see any reason to do that. Like with the uncertainty, with a 10-man rotation, there's really sorry, not 10-man rotation. Yeah, I can't. I don't know. Yeah, there is going to be a 10-man rotation. I don't know. There's no way I'm playing Sengun unless I hear something later or somebody else is out or something happens. But I reserve the right to change, but I just don't see any reason. Lee or Concher, as much as I think those are just terrible plays, I think you guys are trying to spend down too much, if I had to guess, just based on these questions. You don't need this kind of value. And sure, can one of these guys hit, like John Concher had the game of his life yesterday. He had, 17 rebounds? Sure, but off of a ceiling game where he played 30 minutes on a back-to-back, feels very thin to me. The guy who usually plays, 20 some odd 30 minutes. Maybe it's not as thin. Maybe it's okay. I would say it's okay, actually, because it's a later game, too. You can always switch. But certainly, look, with Steven Adams back, how many minutes is he really going to get? Like, I would guess he probably gets 15 minutes, maybe 12. You're really asking for a lot by trying to force these guys in, and you really don't need to. There's great mid-range plays today. So I would encourage you guys to do that. Look, somebody's going to get there who's one of these cheap guys. You're just playing roulette. Like, there's nothing logical that makes any of them good plays except for the ability of Hunter to play minutes, which again is still speculation. So I think we're reaching a little bit on these ones personally. Yeah, it's funny because Project Mayhem loves the late games, but has the exact opposite take of what I like. Like all five of the guys you mentioned, I think are viable, but just absolutely nowhere near guys are priorities. See, here we go again, Mo Wagner. Every question is about the value. I think Mo Wagner being in the first game. Now, I actually think this is the kind of matchup. Why do I have no minutes for Mo Wagner? Am I missing something? That seems like a weird situation. Why is that happening? Let me double check this real quick. Um, I have Mo Wagner projected at 0 minutes. That seems off, right? I do like Robin Lopez. I mentioned that already. Maybe why is Mo Wagner not projected to play a single minute tonight? I guess he only did play 9 minutes the other night, and they've given more run to Schofield, to be honest. So maybe Schofield would be a better play than Wagner, but you never know. It could go to his. There's no logical reason to play him. I mean, I can't believe he's got projected for 0 minutes, but he is. And it's a good kind of matchup for. But I don't know. I think we're reaching, guys. I really do. And look, while those reaching sometimes work, why are we doing it to ourselves on a huge slate? I just think it's a mistake. Oh, Franz Wagner. Oh no, yeah, you said Mo Wagner. I do like Franz Wagner. I'm into that play. But I don't. I think you should treat it very cautiously. It's again these first games. It is a good game environment, but Orlando could get just completely housed here. And I like LaMelo better on FanDuel, obviously, because the price, and he does get steals and blocks sometimes. So I think that using him at 8K makes sense. I don't really love these other guys that we're mentioning, and I worry about Lopez too. And maybe Mo Wagner does get the cleanup if they're getting blown out. If Lopez gets early foul trouble, which is totally in the car, it's totally on the table. You could use Plumlee on the other side, by the way. I do think Plumlee is somewhat in play against a bad Magic team, although Lopez himself is a much better he's actually a good defender, but he's more of a good post defender. People just don't give him credit. Orlando in general defensively is god awful. But I like Franz Wagner. If you're going to play that game, I just think we're probably making mistakes if you're prioritizing. Is Franz Wagner a better play than Harrison Barnes? One, I don't think so. Two, you have 3 hours between the games, and I would rather have the guy in the later game. I don't have any Butler as of right now. I want to wait to confirm that he's playing, but I don't mind that play at all. But based on the point spread in that game, I mean, why is Miami? Sure, somebody has to explain this to me. Why is Miami only a 4-point favorite against a team they just beat on the road if Jimmy Butler's coming back? It doesn't make sense against and everybody thinks the Hawks are a good team. The Hawks are terrible. They've been terrible this year. They're just awful. But I do kind of like the Butler idea if he does play. But again, you got another hour till we hear about that, probably at least. I don't have any Jaylen Brown. I think when they get to be the same price, I think you play Tatum. That's my personal take. But there won't be any ownership on Brown, and he does have a ceiling. I think he's a little underprojected, but Tatum is the guy who can really put up in almost any game can put up that monster number. I know Brown's been really good lately, but I would personally prefer Tatum. I guess if you wanted to go different and get really low owner, they're both going to be really low owned. So I don't really mind whichever one you do. But yeah, they're viable. I just don't think that they're priorities. Al Horford is kind of interesting off the board play. We talked about who was the other 5,400 guy we talked about at power forward. I can't remember, but Al Horford is an interesting, completely unowned play that could have some success here. Taking, if they play him at the 5 a little bit and take some beat away from the basket. Jimmy Butler warming up with the intention of playing. So I do like Butler. I don't know how much of him I'm going to end up with, but I definitely have him below. Well, also it correlates better for me to play Tatum, but I do think Butler is, certainly it's a great matchup. He's pricey, but he can produce here. I don't think I'm going to end up prioritizing him now, to be honest. But I wouldn't surprise me if he had a big game, so I don't mind if you guys want to use him. Lots of good plays here. Brogdon's been out every game, so there's nothing new here. The guys who benefit are too expensive to play, so I don't really think it's Miles Turner doesn't benefit at all, but he's 5,800 if you want to just play a guy randomly for some reason. Karis LeVert is coming back, so who knows how much they're going to let him go, but he certainly, can put up a ceiling game. It's a terrible matchup. I'm not playing anybody from Indiana. Miles Turner would be the only one, and it's just because you can always play Miles Turner and hope for the big upside game, but I don't see it as Indiana being viable, personally. All right, let's see if there's any more questions before I get out of here. Anybody doing good in golf? I've got a top 5 lineup in golf right now. Everybody at 6 under or better, and including Henley in there. And then I've got Kazire, who's completely unknown, who's just starting. But I've got Davis, Kokrak, Connors. They're all everybody 8, 9 under except for Bezadenhout, who's 6 under after struggling today at the beginning. It seems like the questions have dried up. Yeah, I'm looking at the Wagner thing, but I've checked it. I mean, everybody else's numbers are updated. Why is Mo Wagner's not? I mean, why would they project him for 0? That just seems like a mistake. But I don't know that there's. I mean, look, we just saw this happen the other night, and guess what? Mo Wagner played 9 minutes. It's really thin. Like that's a really, really thin play. Now, could it happen? Sure. I mean, who was it who went nuts the other night? Who literally no one had ever even talked about. He's probably, I think he was like the 10th man on the rotation, but he just was red hot. Somebody put up like 38 fantasy points for 3K, and it's just like was just a random things happen. It's basketball. It's a flow game. So nothing like that. Who are you talking about playing? Play who? Mo Wagner? You guys can play Mo Wagner if you want to. I'm not going to. I don't mind if you want to do it in the lottery thing or something like that, but I just don't see the a guy who might be a DNP CD on a giant slate just feels like a silly thing to do personally. That's where I'm at. What else do we have? I think that's pretty much it. Well, good luck, everybody. I really think that this is a night, like we've been doing great for the most part, or at least I have been doing really well, except for that one horrible, horrible Wednesday. One of the worst NBA slates I've had in a long time. But let's keep it going. I'm going to be in the Discord. I'm going to try to answer things. It's going to be a lot of late shifting because I'm going to play mostly guys in the later games. And good luck to everybody. And we'll hopefully see someone take something down. We want to see some screenshot life. Good luck out there, guys.